Hello fellow Earthlings, it's Livs, and today I'm going through my Buzzword Reading Challenge 2022 TBR. I'm going to do a very chilled video today. I just got back from work, and my dog has decided that she's horribly depressed because I left the house, and obviously that's the worst thing that I as a human could ever do, is leave the house. And now well, that's the current situation, and I can't quite bring myself to move her to do a video standing up over there. So this is the situation now. I was gonna do my roundup from 2021 in a separate video, but I feel like maybe I'll just do one video because I can't be bothered thinking of doing two. So I'll quickly round up everything I read for the Buzzword Reading Challenge this year. So for month one, it was to read a book with dream in the title, and I read A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare. That's my favourite Shakespeare play, and I couldn't think of another book to read. Hang on. I can use my knee like a tripod. It's totally a vibe, right? For the second month, it was a book with a colour in the title, and I read The Little White Horse, which I didn't really get on with so much. I just found it kind of weird. I loved it when I was a kid, but I think just like some of the meaning is a bit creepier now as an adult. The third month I read Swing Time by Zadie Smith. I ended up really enjoying this book. Should I tell you what these are about? Probably. So Little White Horse is a children's book from the 40s. It's kind of a bit magical. It's about this little orphan girl who goes to live with her uncle in this magical place, and it kind of gives off Lion King vibes because she can go everywhere the light touches except that shadowy place. I don't really remember it, to be honest. Swing Time is by Zadie Smith. It's kind of about class and racism and this young girl who wants to be a dancer as a kid, but she doesn't quite do it, and she grows up to work in media, and it plays with time a lot, and kind of just, it explores so many things that I can't really tell you what it's about. Then for the fourth month I read, prompt was to read a book with space-related words in the title, and I read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is about a college student who finds a book of short stories, and one of the short stories in the book is something that happened to him when he was a kid, and it's about him going on this mystery to find the Starless Sea and to save this secret library of books. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was beautifully written, but I just don't think I like how Erin Morgenstern ends her books. They're just not quite for me. She's very good at writing, a vibe, but I want a bit more than that in my books. Then for the 5th month, the prompt was to read a book with house or home in the title, and I read The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House by Audrey Lorde, which is just a very small selection of her poetry, essays. I really enjoyed it, 4.5 stars, just because I'd rather read a big book of her poems, which you'll see is something I'm going to be doing next year. Then for the 6th month I read oh my goodness, okay, I can talk normally. The prompt was to read a book with a name or title in the title, and I read Orlando by Virginia Woolf. Didn't really like it. It's about this guy in the Elizabethan age who is really beautiful, and one day he becomes a woman and never ages. It was okay, but I just don't think it felt quite as cool and progressive as I've heard a lot of people say it is. Then for the 7th month, the prompt was to read a book with Last in the title, and I read the book The Last by, I think it's Hannah Jameson. I really despised this book. It's about nuclear bombs going off all over the world, and there's this guy at a conference in Switzerland, and everyone at the hotel thinks they're the last people alive on Earth, and there's this weird murder mystery because a body's found in the water tank, and it's trying to say something, but it doesn't say anything, and it's so much, I just didn't like it at all. And then for the 8th month, the prompt is to read a book with a time of day in the title, and I read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I liked this book a lot more than The Starless Sea. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I'm sure everyone's heard about The Night Circus by now, but it's about a competition between 2 sort of magicians, and they don't know who they're competing against, and it's set at this magical place called the Night Circus. It's really cool vibes, but it's again a bit like The Starless Sea. It's a lot more about the vibes than anything else. For the 9th month, the prompt was to read a book with dark in the title, and I read, what did I read? Dark as Last Night by Tory Burch. I guess that tells you how I feel about the book, because I don't even remember the title or the name of the person who wrote it. Tony Burch. Okay. This is a short story collection set in Australia. All the stories were kind of about younger people coming to terms with things happening in their lives. It wasn't particularly impactful for me. I didn't really care for it all that much. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was fine but pretty forgettable. Then for the 10th month, this is when I decided to do my video on reading books inspired by the elements, because the prompt was to read a book inspired by the elements. So I read Hear the Wind Sing by Haruki Murakami, The Screen and Pleasant Land by Aisha Malak, The Sea by Iris Murdoch, and Fire, Flood, Plague. I will link it above. Last month for November, the prompt was to read a book with Lost in the title, and I read The Lost Girls of Paris, which I gave 3.5 stars to. It was fine. It was fine. It's about... Sorry, dog. Yep. Her head is on my knee where I want to rest my elbow. It's about this woman called Grace who finds a suitcase, and in the suitcase there are these photos of these women, and it turns out the women were all kind of agents or radio operators for the English in France during World War II. And it's about trying to figure out what happened to them because they've kind of been erased from history. So it was a really cool premise. I just didn't really like how it was written. And for December, the prompt is to read a book with a day, month or season in the title, and I am currently reading Summer by Ali Smith. Oh, I've read her entire seasonal quartet this year, so I'm really keen to finish that one. Now we will get over to next year's reading prompts, and I'll tell you what I'm planning on reading. So for the first month, the prompt is to read a book with who, where, what, when, why or how in the title. For this one, I'm going to be reading How to Be Both by Ali Smith. I don't really know a lot about the books I'm about to be mentioning. I haven't really... Some of them I've read the synopsis of, others I just found were on my TBR pile for ages, and I was like, I better read them now because they work for the prompts. So I don't really know anything about this one, but clearly I'm a big Ali Smith fan, so I'm really keen to get around to this one. For February, the prompt is to read a book with me, you, mine, yours, he, she, her, his, their, theirs, we, ours, etc. in the title. So I'm going to read As You Wish, which is a book about the making of The Princess Bride, I believe. I'm really keen to get around this. The Princess Bride is in my top 5 favourite films of all time, so I'm really, really excited to read a book about its creation. Then for March, the prompt is to read a book with a city, country, state, or province, or an attraction in the title. And for this, I'm going to read The Country of Others by Leila Slimani. I read Lullaby by Leila Slimani for my reading thriller books for the first time video, so I'll link that up here. I really loved that book. It was by far the best thriller book I've read, so I'm really keen to read more works by her. And so this book in particular, I was really fascinated about. It's about this woman in France who marries a Moroccan man and moves to Morocco. Okay, so I don't remember where I was because a freaky noise scared me and I stopped filming. So we'll move on to the prompts for April, which is to read a book with giant, tiny, small, or huge in the title. And for this, I'm going to be reading The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. She's snoring. Are you snoring? Are you snoring? Which I think we learned from my last book, or I don't actually remember anything about. This is like half fantasy, half historical fiction about a married couple who can't remember if they have a son or not, and so they're trying to find this son that they don't know if he exists or not or something. So I'm keen to get around to that because it sounds bizarre, so I'm pretty excited. Then for May, the prompt is north, south, east, west, or left, right, up, down, etc. And for this, I'm going to be reading Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell. This book is one I've been keen to read for a little while now. I'd like to know a lot more about George Orwell, and this is like his autobiography about when he was homeless living in Paris and London. So I'd like to read this and know a bit more about him. Then for June, the prompt is All or Alls. So for this one, I'm going to be reading All the Light We Cannot See, which has been on my TBR for years, for so many years. So I'm excited to finally read the book because I've been meaning to for such a long time. We all know what this one's about. We all know what All the Light We Cannot See is about. For July, the prompt is book, library, read, page or paper. So for this, I'm going to be reading Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops by Jen Campbell. I've been wanting to read some Jen Campbell for ages, and this one is available at my library, so I thought I'd give this one a shot. For August, the prompt is a book with an item or object in the title, so I'm going to be reading Jason and the Golden Fleece because I haven't really read a lot of Greek classical literature and I really want to, and this one was a book I bought on sale, so I'd really like to give it a go. For September, I'm going to, the prompt is a book with light or dark in the title, so I'm going to be reading A Burst of Light by Audrey Lorde. I think this is one of her poetry collections, so I'm really keen to get around to reading it since I've loved everything of hers I've read so far. I just, really want to read a proper collection of her work. For October, the prompt is a book with an animal or creature in the title, and for this I'm going to be reading A Short History of the World According to Sheep. This is a book that I mentioned in my non-fiction TBR video, and so I think this will be a great opportunity to read this book, because otherwise I think I'll end up just putting it off. And I don't want to put it off. It sounds very interesting, so I want to know more. For November, the reading prompt is a book with ing in the title. So I'm going to be reading Growing Up Queer in Australia, which is a collection of essays written by Australian writers about growing up queer in Australia. So this one I'm particularly keen to read. I also think next year I'm going to be reading Growing Up Aboriginal in Australia. So I'm very excited to be reading this series of books. And then the final book for next year, the December prompt is a book with a number in the title, and I'm going to be reading 100 lessons. 100. Oh, I'm tired. Okay. 21 lessons for the 21st century. So I've got quite a few non-fiction books here, which I'm really, really excited about, because I'm trying to up my non-fiction reading. I'd want it to be probably 30% of my reading. I think that's going to be one of my big goals for next year, so I'm excited about that. Okay, I did it. I'm gonna have a coffee, have a nap, probably have a nap and then a coffee, something like that. Anyway, I shall see you next time. I'm gonna start snoring like this little dog here. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.